Welcome, good morning. It's day 2 of the festival. I know it's nice and early, so I really appreciate all of you who are joining us live here and those of you who are joining us online as well. So today we're going to talk a bit about how to write a winning pitch proposal for your grants or grant funding. This is also related a bit to the innovation challenge that we announced yesterday. Today we'll be having, I'll be talking a little bit about, because we promised many of you that it's going to be a workshop session, so we're going to go through some checklists and tips on how you can go about writing a proposal. And then we have Igor, my colleague, who will join us on stage, along with Sannuta and Duya from the Nest Center, who are previous grantees of the Innovation Challenge, who will also be here to answer any of the questions that you may have and also share what they've learned in applying for grants over the last many years that they've been working in the industry. So just to kick things off, let's start with writing a winning grant proposal for AI journalism products. So again, this is going to be a little more general, but we're going to try and take it from the perspective of journalism AI, since we have been funding certain projects since last year. So just the overview is going to be the basics, which most of you would be familiar with, but we just have to run through it in case some of you are not familiar with it. A checklist that is more from journalism AI's point of view, about applying for a grant-funded project, the innovation challenge itself, and then we'll move to the Q&A. So let's begin with the basics. Grant writing is an art and a science, as many of you already know. So it's very important to give it time. Give it time and not rush the process. Take your time in writing it and make sure that you read all the requirements carefully on the person or on the funder's website to ensure that you have everything that they ask for. Particularly, again, I feel like the animations are too much, but read the requirements carefully, and not all grants fund reporting. So for example, the Innovation Challenge does not fund the reporting projects. So it's more to do with building AI-based tools and products and not exactly a story or any other kind of a reporting project. So this is something that we've written in our FAQs. We've written it throughout our website, but many people seem to miss it, and we end up getting applications that are about reporting. So we hate to turn it down because they're great ideas, but just because that's not the nature of the grant. Also, attend an information session. Choosing to be here today is really great because it shows that you're interested in the grant, as well as getting to ask questions from grantees from previous programs, as well as us. And then finally, check the FAQs. So as I mentioned, these are all really basic things, but it's things that people really miss out on doing. So please check the FAQs. We have an exhaustive list on our website. And if that doesn't answer your question, feel free to write to us at innovation@journalismai.info. And now we go to a checklist that we have. So when you're writing a grant-funded proposal, especially for the Innovation Challenge that we launched yesterday, we would suggest that you begin in reverse. I know this is kind of counterintuitive, but the idea is that you read the judging criteria and the rubrics guidelines, which will be available online. So most funders talk about, especially if they're funding programs like the Innovation Challenge, they talk about how, what kind of project they're looking for and how they judge a particular project proposal. So this is worth considering. So ask yourself, what is the funder prioritizing? In our case, it's feasibility and innovation, one of the primary criteria, but we also have a series of other criteria that we've listed online on our website. And next, also keep in mind how many selection rounds are going to be there. Again, for the Innovation Challenge, we're going to have 2 selection rounds, but the first one is going to be quite exhaustive, where the applications that come in go through an initial screening round, where we look at whether your organizations are actually news organizations, whether you've applied for a reporting grant, or whether you've applied for a grant that builds a tool. So in this particular first round, a lot of projects actually get filtered out because they don't meet these basic criteria, which is why I said read all the requirements carefully and make sure that you actually write to what the funder or what the grant maker wants from your proposal. The second round that we go through will be through an independent panel selection. So independent members whom we've selected from the industry will actually read the proposals and then filter them based on various criteria. So two of those is focus and feasibility. So keep your ideas focused on the problem you're trying to solve. The more ambitious an idea, the more pressure it is to build the product itself. So it's very important that I know that there's a lot that you can do, and many of you are capable of doing as well, but for the period of the grant that you're applying for, it makes sense to just focus in on a particular aspect that you would like to fine-tune or that you would like to really build out to completion. It may not be feasible sometimes, and it may even come up that you cannot get a minimum outcome if it's way too ambitious. And at Journalism AI, we've seen that more ideas that are too ambitious lose out on the feasibility aspect, not from us, because we don't do the final judging on the actual project itself, but from the judges who we select independently. And next is to, understand the scale. So again, this goes back to understanding the scale and replicability of your project. So can it be scaled to the level of industry where others can replicate and learn from your knowledge? And is it contributing to the body of work and knowledge in the industry that already exists? Where is it focused geographically? What exact AI technologies are you going to use? What specific audience are you looking to serve? What impact will it have on your internal processes? So these are the kinds of questions that we and the judging panel all look at and think about before we really decide that some of these projects are really good to be shortlisted. So if you can keep that in mind, that would be great. So as I mentioned, is your idea something that can scale to an organizational or industry level? Can others replicate or learn from it? And then one of the key things that we also look for is an evidence of innovation. So in our application, we ask you to, well, we don't say it in these exact words, but we say brag about your achievements in AI and journalism. So describe your previous projects, talk about the AI-related skills and experience you bring, anything that says that you've done this before or you've been experimenting with AI, even if it doesn't have to be a hugely successful, really big thing. It just needs to be something that shows that you have some kind of experience with AI technologies. Providing evidence of impact and how it's changed the way something works or made life easier for you, for your newsroom, or just for your colleagues. Any of these work well when you apply for the Innovation Challenge specifically, but also for every other type of grant. And again, coming back to the Innovation Challenge, two things that we ask for is to commit to two outcomes. One is the most ideal outcome that you would like to work towards, and that would be the maximum best that you can do in the given time frame. And the next one is the minimum viable outcome if many things fail. And the truth is, most of the time, your projects may fall in between these two variables. It may not be the best, it may not be the worst, but it may be somewhere in between. And the minimum outcome, if you write it this way, it also shows funders that you've thought through the worst case scenarios and are still committed to building a foundation for future growth. It also provides you a roadmap if things don't go according to plan, which is really important for somebody providing a grant to understand that you've thought through these things. Next, we have timelines and budgeting. Again, we've given guidelines for all of this on our website, but make sure that your project is doable within the given timeline. So in the case of the Innovation Challenge for small newsrooms and medium-sized newsrooms, it's going to be 9 months. And don't inflate your budget beyond minor reasonable contingencies. Because again, we've seen in the past that there have been some applications which had come in for that the judges had rejected just because the budget seemed very inflated in context of what they're trying to build. So it would make sense that you really think it through. And yeah, if it can be done in a lesser amount, say so. And if it needs more, just state that. So yeah, somewhere in between, I would say. And moving on to the Innovation Challenge, the eligibility. Again, it's for small and medium-sized news organizations in specific regions and countries this year. The eligibility and the exact list of countries are given on our website, so please do go and take a look at it. It's open to organizations with 10 to 200 staff members. And then journalism support organizations or freelancers are ineligible to apply, only because it is, again, made to suit organizational needs, and we'd like to see how it's replicable across the industry through an organization. So what we provide this year is 4 grants of $100,000 USD and 8 grants of $50,000, and the themes are audience intelligence and revenue growth. So some examples of this is dynamic paywall strategies, churn prediction, personalized products or recommendations. Other examples are creating a subscription-based service for data insights that you may be gathering within your organization. So these are just 2 examples. Obviously, we are not the experts on audience intelligence and revenue growth. All of you are. So I'm sure you will come up with more creative ideas than just what I've shown here. And then the timeline for the Innovation Challenge is going to be like this. November, yesterday is when Matt Cook from Google announced the launch of the Innovation Challenge together with us at JournalismAI. We have the application deadline on December 3rd. So it's not too long, but I think it should be enough time if you have already started planning for it. We have the selection results announced sometime in January. And the program kicks off in February and ends in October. So I haven't touched upon all the aspects of the Innovation Challenge. And I think there may be many questions, or maybe you don't have that many questions. But either way, we have 2 grantees from our previous Innovation Challenge here, Sannuta and Duya, and Igor, who is my colleague, who will be moderating a small panel discussion with them. But also, we're open to any questions from the live stream or any of you in the room over here. So thank you. Hi, Igor.
Great. Thank you so much, Lakshmi, for this introduction. And thank you guys for being here. I think you are excellently positioned to be in this position on the stage, because you've applied, you've gotten the grant, you've successful implemented it, and you have a concrete output, which is amazing. And we'll be seeing and hearing more of that in our other panels here. But I would just like to begin with your approach to the proposal that you've prepared for JournalismAI. Could you talk a little bit about that? Whichever wants it, you can.
Okay, sure. Deciding to apply to this project has been a hard decision for us, because at the time we didn't have much experience with artificial intelligence. And actually I was like arguing in my head with myself before deciding to apply about the use of artificial intelligence in doing journalism, right? But we did have specific problems that we wanted to solve, and then we thought like maybe artificial intelligence and automation could provide us some of the solutions that we're looking for. And we did some research in terms of like how other newsrooms are solving similar issues. And also, so in our case, we developed 2 tools. One is sentiment analysis tool, and other is AI-assisted fact-checking tool. So the AI-assisted fact-checking tool was a very imminent need for us, because we're also a fact-checking organization, and we're currently met as third-party fact-checking partner. And if some of you are too as well, you know the fact-checking tool provides us with a lot of support in terms of identifying and finding disinformation on social media. But with the probable future that might not be the reality going forward, we needed some sort of tool that would help us identify disinformation in a more targeted and effective way. So we were building this open source platform for freelance journalists, and the risk of having not high enough of a quality news on that platform was also very imminent. So we decided to use artificial intelligence to solve those two problems. And also we wanted to break through the silos of echo chambers on social media on our platform as well. And we wanted to give people like the agency to make decisions on what to trust and basically be flexible to understand other points of view on the certain topic from different perspectives from how they're looking at a certain issue. So that's where the sentiment analysis tool comes in. So we had really imminent problems that we wanted to solve, and we tried to solve that with the use of artificial intelligence, and so far I think it's looking good. Yeah. So that's how we decided to apply for it. The application process itself was also very interesting. So I want to talk about the 2 tiers from last year. It was 50, do you make it?
No, please.
It was 50,000 and 250,000. And for an organization who was mostly grant funded, 250,000 tier was very tempting, I admit that. But we decided to apply for the 50,000 tier because that's how much our organization can burn through within 9 months, and it was a realistic amount of funding. And also, for us, the real work starts after we have been kind of accepted to get the funding, right? Not before or not while we're applying for it, but how well you plan during the application period makes your life through the implementation period that much easier. So we decided to apply for the 50,000 tier because firstly, I thought too much funding for one single project for a whole organization of 15 people could be harmful for the organization in the long run. If we get into that kind of spending, how to say, behavior, then we're not going to be able to sustain that kind of behavior going forward, which would risk the longevity of my organization as well. So I think this is very relevant to myself, but I think this is a very healthy way to look at funding when it's, especially grant funding, so that you can ensure the sustainability of your organization and grow at a pace that you're comfortable with, not just because you may have big pool of funding.
Yeah, absolutely. We already have several themes emerging here. One of them is balancing ambition with reality. I guess we could articulate it like that, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And making long-term, kind of setting up your organization for long-term sustainability. Yeah.
Before I ask you a follow-up question, I would like to turn to you. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your approach.
So we came into this challenge with a tool that we had already built, but it was a little ahead of its time. We had built a URL to MP4 tool, which converted text articles into short videos in the MP4 format. We had put it out on Instagram during India's elections in 2024. It did really well for us. Our engagement grew. Our number of followers grew. But we were also conscious of the fact that this was off platform, right? That it was platform agnostic, and it was not on platform. And the ecosystem that we're moving towards now, where journalism is almost treated like raw material. You're not getting a lot of sort of on platform. So we wanted to focus and make the version 2 as an investment for our users, our loyal users, so that they can come and like really geek out on our platform. So that was the idea that we were exploring. And we also had a very specific idea of what personalization could look like. So we didn't want to create content silos. We wanted to make sure that the news was reported with editorial discretion, that our editors still took sort of the primacy when it came to what news was surfaced on our platform. But we wanted to explore the form transformations that could happen. So we are primarily a text-first organization. We only produce very deeply reported text stories. So how can you use that for audiences that don't necessarily have the time to consume a 2,000-word article in that moment? And what else are we able to give to them so that they are able to spend more time on our platform, engage deeper with everything that we're doing, and like I said yesterday as well, thanks to this challenge, not only did we achieve that, and quite early, we were also able to add on a lot more in terms of what we could do with our archive and how deep we could go with our archive and how deeply we could retrieve context. So we sort of, to rewind and tell you about what we promised in the application, we said we will create 7 formats across multiple languages. But we were able to do so much more with how much the technology has advanced in the last sort of 9 months. So have that little bit of wiggle room when you are applying, and once you commit to your project, don't be too rigid about it. Don't be too rigid about, like, leave room to expand, because even when you apply for this year's challenge, the technology is going to move at a very different, fast pace. So leave that room for that extra magic to happen.
That's a really good way of phrasing it, I would say. Before we continue, I'd just like to see if we have any questions. By show of hands, how many questions do we have? Because depending on that, I will be designing the flow over here. So we have 1, 2. And Zena, could you tell us if there are any questions on the live stream? Because we also have to, no questions? Okay, well, maybe we could take the questions and then we'll proceed. So do we have a portable mic? Yes, we can give it to the lady over here. Yeah, I believe. You had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering about this, the grant coming out now. It's saying that it's about audience intelligence and revenue growth. Does it need to be, the project needs to be on both? Or could it be an initiative on only the audience intelligence side?
That's right. So should we answer it now, or we can answer it now? Yeah. So would you like to take it, or should I go ahead?
I think the short answer is that the short answer is that it can be either or, but it should be building towards sustainability financially eventually. So that's why we put in the revenue growth aspect as well. So even if it's primarily focused on audience, how does that enable you to build up financial sustainability in the long run? That would be a core focus, yeah.
And you also had a question, but is it?
I'm still organizing my thoughts.
You organize them. You organize them. We'll get back to. Okay, that sounds great. I'm sure that I mean, if I was in a position to to consider applying to this grant or any other grant, I think the first thing that would come up in my mind, I don't know about everyone else, but the first thing that would come to my mind is the amount of technical detail, because you were already talking about flexibility, so you gotta leave a little bit of a wiggle room. Then you were talking about ambition. So how do you balance that? How to not be overly technical, right? But at the same time give just enough to say that, yes, I'm committed and I've actually given it some thought. But at the same time, you don't exactly know where the project will go, right? Because you might end up in and quite a few grantees actually do pivot. And these pivots, they're usually quite meaningful. So was that something that had occurred to you as you were preparing the proposal?
That was my biggest problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't be technical. Like, I didn't know what technology was going into that. I did meet a number of people and I did some research. And I was very honest in my application, I would say. I hope that kind of showed. I basically wrote about like what the problems we're facing and how we are solving it in our own way without the technology that we want to build, and what are the roundabout ways of doing that, which takes a lot of time, and how we want to simplify that. And I did some research, and I basically very honestly said, these are the options that I can find at this point. And through this process, we are planning to learn more. And of course, there was this mentorship and coaching sessions that was as part of this. So from that, what I understood was, it is pretty much expected that we are going to learn new stuff and kind of acquire new methodologies and new techniques while doing this project, instead of coming into this with all the solutions ourselves. So that's how I read the call for proposals from this. So I was ready for that, and I was very honest about what I don't know and what I think. What I think, based on the information that I have gathered, can be the solution. But the fact is that I admitted that I'm not really sure that this is going to be the solution, and I'm ready to learn together. So that's basically how I went about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being open-minded, being transparent,
Yeah.
and being open to change. I guess those are the things that are coming up, which it begins to start like to sound like a self-development workshop, but it's not. But
Well, the Journalism AI Challenge for our organization, whole 9 month was a learning phase.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I went into that with a lot of unknown stuff, like not really sure that this was going to happen, and I'm really proud of the tools that we have built at the end of the 9 months. I mean, we had a lot of uncertainty before coming into that, but we were supported through the 9 months, through the coaching sessions, answering questions that we couldn't figure out on our own, and guiding us into sources that we could learn more on our own time and figuring it out together. And right now, I mean, I think as a team, we are able to ask like better questions that actually lead us to good solutions in a shorter period of time. So I think, I mean, not just the money, not just the funding, I think that's the biggest thing that we got out of this program. Yeah.
we are so happy to hear that. And Sannuta, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think, at least from my vantage point, I would be a little uncomfortable to not be technical. I think that is, as in getting a very, very clear sense of the problem we're solving was very important for us. What are we really building? Of course, we left the wiggle room for the solutions, but we started with a very strong technical base. And you know, the thing that we're really proud of in how we have managed to work is getting the editorial team and the technical team to really talk to each other on almost a daily basis and create this shared language of, you know, this is what are the goals, this is the problem we're trying to solve, what does the solution look like, you know, because it's sort of an industry-wide reality, right? That both of these teams work in silos. But we can't build a technical product without, in journalism, without the editorial knowledge and nuance and, you know, everything that, you know, we do on a daily basis. And you also need the technical team. So I would say that the technical aspect was very, very important to us. From a problem point of view, and even from sort of staying ahead of the curve in terms of, you know, how do we solve this? What are the new things that we can look at as we're, you know, building this out? So that was our vantage point.
Great, great. And just for context, Sannuta had an excellent workshop yesterday taking place at the Smile Suite, which was recorded. The sessions were recorded. They will be up on YouTube soon. Can't give you the exact hour, but they will be there. So, so do check it out, and the rest of the sessions at the Smile Suite. Before I proceed, once again, I'd like to ask if any of you have any. Did you organize your thoughts? Great. Could we get a mic? Awesome.
Thanks so much. I mean, last year I applied for the same grant that you both got, and it was a very instructive experience. But I had some questions last year as well, which I still have. Kind of two questions really. One is, I work for an Indian fact checker, by the way. So the first question is...
an Indian? A fact checker?
An Indian fact checker.
Fact checker, okay, yeah, great, great, checker, thank you.
So the first question is, did either of you have a proposal that built on existing generative AI platforms? Because when I was putting together the proposal last year, I was wondering whether any proposal that builds on LLMs will be preferred or not preferred, if that makes sense. And we figured that we didn't have the technical chops to do something completely original on our own, so we should focus on building something off an LLM. So I want to know if either of you built on LLM or any LLMs? The second question I have is, what if the tool that you're proposing, let's say you're proposing to build a tool, what if it's already been built by some other organization around the world, but you don't know of it, or rather you know of it, but you can't customize it to your own situation? Mm-hmm. Will that be not preferred? Does that make sense?
The questions do make sense, yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for the questions. Now, I think all four of us can actually jump in, but I'm going to give you guys priority because we have the luxury of having you guys here. So would any of you like to take either of the questions or both of them?
Sure. On the first question, I think if you mean, do you mean building apps on ChatGPT?
No, not necessarily.
But using LLMs as a base.
You can build a chatbot on ChatGPT, but you probably don't need funding for that. Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So LLMs, of course, are sort of very fundamental to everything that we've built, but we've not focused on one LLM. We've tested multiple LLMs, available in the market, open source, paid, and there, of course, I mean, everything that we've built, LLMs are fundamental to the workflow that we have created. On the second question, I forgot your second question.
What if there's an existing
right.
something that's 80% of
Right, which is something we faced as well, because as we were building out, so what we've actually built is a form-to-form versioning tool, right? And when we were, we got the grant and we started building it out, and Notebook LM side by side was really sort of picking up. And when you look at Notebook LM, it is also able to do mind maps. It is also able to do, videos, audios, and all of that. And it does a fairly good job at that. And that's exactly what form-to-form would mean, right? And this happened again, pretty about 3 months into, when we got the grant and we were building it out. But what we said is, what can we bring to the table that is a real value add? So what is our USP to things? So it wasn't a pivot, but it was, this product exists, it works very well, it is free, but what can we add to it that that really sort of takes it one notch higher? So for example, if you look at Notebook LM's mind maps, it's a serial progressive mind map, right? But what we have done is we've done entity mapping and relationship mapping and radial and progressive and everything that we can do with a vectorized database. So we've opened up our entire sort of archive and put it onto this. So that was the one value add. The other thing we've done is, let's look at it from what these very general purpose, all purpose tech tools are not able to do and serve for the news industry. So they don't, for example, understand the nuances that we intuitively and intentionally add. So we found that gap and said, why don't we bake those parts in? Because the broader sort of making sense of structured data, creating form to form, is something on a generic basis these tools are going to be able to do. But as journalists, for journalists, and within this industry, what is our USP? So that's what we really thought through and added to this.
Great. Thank you so much. Duya, do you have anything?
Yeah, I can just add to the first one. Sure. Our sentiment analysis tool is built on Gemini. We decided it was the best for our situation after testing different ones. One Mongolian LLM included among them as well. Our fact-checking assistance is, we basically just did everything from scratch ourselves. And I think we also can look at the difference in terms of geography and what kind of countries we're coming from. We only have one local LLM, which is still in progress, because Mongolian language is a low resource language spoken by 3.5 million people in total. So, and also, like, our government is only budgeting for 8 GPUs this year. It's not been approved yet, but I think you can kind of look at the difference, right? Like, with 8 GPUs, we're a nation. It's much fewer than one company is using. So in that case, like, especially for low resource languages, it's the existing LLMs that we have to depend on to build any sort of tool and feed them with our own data and use it in a way that we want to use it. So yeah, I would just add that. So I think the context can vary from country to country.
Yeah, absolutely. It's excellent points, and maybe I can add my own 2 cents to that, just really quickly. The first question, I rephrased it as a question of your necessity, your needs, and the second question, I rephrased it in my mind as a necessity of your audience or whichever group you're trying to serve. So the first one, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the bicycle. If it's there and it's ready, that's the most. That's the thing that makes the most sense for you in your own context. So no, you don't have to necessarily build something new. And the second question about tools that are readily available. Again, a similar logic, because I'm rephrasing it to, what is the need in your particular context, and you guys already have spoken about that, so I'm not going to dwell too much about that. But really, it's about context mattering, and also you explaining yourself, your organization, what the needs are, what your context is, and how this particular grant, let's say, is able to make meaningful change in your own organization, in your own story. So that's how I just phrased it in my mind, and I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your question, and thank you so much for your answers. I had another question for you guys, so just really quickly. We've mentioned in the beginning that it's great having you here because you went through the whole journey and you arrived at the end successfully, and you have amazing products, an amazing journey. And looking back retrospectively, what would you advise to your 9 months? Well, how many months has it been? 11 months. So 11 months ago, you jump into a time machine and you go back. What would you advise to yourself? You can think about it a little bit.
That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have done much any differently because I couldn't have.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, right. I mean, I just think it was tough. Our team went through a lot. There were times where we were so stressed just because it wasn't working, it was hallucinating, it was giving us the wrong results and things like that, and communicating between teams like the tech and the journalists. And we don't have an in-house tech team. We have outsourced that part. So I mean, getting through to that different organization and having them understand journalism, and those were very frustrating. But I think it's worth it. We've come out as better communicators of our needs and better understanding of where the tech people are coming from as well. But I think the main thing, we were able to kind of go through that. I mean, it's unlike any other grant-funded projects that we do in journalism, right? Capacity building, where, I mean, the outputs are pretty clear. You kind of know what you're going to be able to do. You kind of can pretty clearly see what kind of impact it's going to have. But this one, we were dealing with something that we didn't really know a lot about. So the fact that we were able to go through all those hurdles was, before applying, because it was a very new sector to me, I thought about it, is our team going to enjoy going through this process? How closer are we going to get to our mission if we have completed this project? Right, so we were pretty convinced that it was going to be a rewarding one. We weren't expecting this to be an easy one at the same time, so we had kind of the same, correct expectation through this process. So I think that kind of mindset, building that before even applying to that process, was something that really just moved us through. And even with the tech company, we kind of told them on our very first meeting, this is going to be hard, we're going to argue a lot, and bear with us. Yeah.
And they did.
They did, because I told them, I told you. Yeah, they knew what they were signing up for. So.
Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely one of the dominant themes in this festival: communication between the tech side and the journalism side, and that's how you handle it. What about you, Sannuta?
Yeah, I completely agree with her. It was as frustrating as it was rewarding, because things were changing so fast, and I work with a very, very enthusiastic bunch of people who, want to be on top of this and, want to sort of really add the best of it to this. And, it was interesting in the sense that there was so much happening around us that we had to almost sort of rein in and say, this is what we are meant to do. This is the budget we have right now. Yeah. We can't really go beyond this. Our enthusiasm is valid, but let's sort of stick to that. So we had to rein it in. But that meant that it was an extremely rewarding process for us, and which I would also suggest while sort of writing your grants, which is when you do promise something, but you will have the opportunity to over deliver because of the pace at which the technology is moving. So be mindful of that and leave that extra room as well.
So, yes, wise words. Thank you so much for that. We still have a bit of time for a quick question. If there's a question in the yes, please, right behind you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie, working for DW Academy in Germany. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. What stuck with me is that you described it as a learning journey. Could you describe what helped you the most during the process from LSE side? So was it providing skills, providing attitudes, reflections? Was it technical assistance? So what helped you the most in delivering and developing your process, your products?
I'm gonna hate myself for sharing this. So the project was designed in a way where we were doing monthly sprints, and we had a sprint checkpoint. And that kind of forced us to be punctual every time and know what to talk about and discuss with our team and have the answers that we have promised to have solved at that sprint. So personally, from like a work pressure point of view, I'm more comfortable with like quarterly reporting. And during the process, I felt the monthly check-ins were a little bit too much, because I had to be like on my feet all the time, right? Our team had to be on our feet all the time. But looking back, after 9 months, if we didn't have the monthly sprint checkpoints, we would probably not have delivered what we did. On top of that, the coaching sessions helped us. Like the coaches acted as our sounding boards, and whatever stupid idea we had, whatever stupid question we had, we were able to ask those. No shame, like, so, I mean, and also they provided us with very good perspectives in terms of how we approach like information, fact-checking when we're using artificial intelligence. Like what's the level of transparency we need to have? Yeah, like things like that. So I would say the most useful things were the sprint checkpoints and the coaching sessions, yeah.
Thank you so much. Speaking of punctuation, we're going to have to wrap up because we have another session coming up in 14 minutes, so make sure to catch it. A fireside chat about reader psychology with Alet Law and Mariah Craddock. And I'd like to thank Sannuta and Duya so much for being here and for sharing your wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you.